Well, cool beans. We all got together here finally after some technical
Good.
difficulties, but we made it and we're here, and that's the important part. So, how you doing, Shannon?
I'm happy.
Yeah. Got your
You didn't get to meet you the last time I was on.
no, no,
Wow.
no, no. Shannon wasn't here last time. Yeah, this is the
Yeah, I
second time
wasn't there.
we've
Yeah.
had Wade on. Yeah, the second time we had Wade on, and
Well, nice to meet you, Wade. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Shannon.
Shannon's
Educate me
a
today.
yeah. Shannon's actually a paranormal investigator.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
We talk to
yeah,
dead
yeah.
people.
Mhm.
I see
Yeah.
dead people. Literally.
Have
I
you?
did
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. Yeah, Wade's one of the most interesting people I've ever met. He really is. He has so many cool stories, and uh, he just really experiences or has experienced a lot. I guess you could say so. Yeah,
I'm excited then. Yay.
yeah. So before we actually get started, Wade, tell us a little bit about yourself, if you don't mind.
Sure, not a problem. Uh, Seriously got started with UFOs in 1967. I had my first sighting then and took off. That was it. You see it in the sky one time, you're a believer. That's it. Uh, 9 years prior to that, kind of set up, it's odd, uh, synchronicity as it falls down. Uh, in April 24th, 1964, at 5:45 in the evening, Lonnie Zamora was traveling south on California Street chasing a speeder. He
Mhm.
got to the southeast or the south entrance to Socorro, and he heard what he thought was an explosion and saw what he thought was a flash. This is the beginning of the Soccorro Landing. I remember as a young child watching that on television, thinking, wow, this is the first one they haven't made somebody look like an idiot. And, and it was true. Years later, I would find out it was the case that changed Hynek's mind, which also plays into a lot of what's going on now with the Socorro Landing. A lot of stuff is kicked back up that really can be accounted for in a way that both Blue Book and the Air Force accounted for it. I've pulled down all the pot that I possibly could on that. Uh, but anyway, so I see this as a child. Years later, I graduate from high school and I apply to several universities, MIT, Berkeley, Stanford, UNM, and this funny little place in Socorro, New Mexico called New Mexico Institute of Mining and Technology. And they gave me a full scholarship. And I thought,
That's sweet.
I've never heard of this town. And my mom was going, you've got to go there. You have got to go there. It's the equivalent of the Colorado School of Mines. It's very hard to get into. And I thought, it'll be that hard, I think. So we went on. I get down there, and my first semester is basic semester, territory versus, and getting along. Second semester is the first time that I'm exposed to the state science fair in New Mexico. And I'm exposed as a night security guard. Sterling Colgate Palmolive, was our president. And Sterling and I, and many students actually, became rather good friends. And that night we were all sitting there guarding the exhibits and got around to the landing site. And this one kid spoke up and he goes, oh, no, I know what it was. My dad worked on the lunar landing project. That's what it was the lunar lander. And that is what one of the Air Force colonels involved, that was what he wanted it to say.
Mhm.
It was the lunar landing. That was the discrediting that the government tried back then. So I was sitting there and I'm thinking, this is odd, because I have a letter from the now late Coral Lorenzen describing the whole incident to me. And I thought, I don't buy this lunar lander. And before I can say anything, Dr. Colgate's sitting right next to me. And he goes, I don't know where you got that. He goes, I don't know what it was. He goes, I've given it a lot of thought. Don't know.
Right.
And I thought, well, that's being honest. Sterling Colgate, to give you an idea of the knowledge of this man, he was the gentleman who first proposed the emission of neutrinos from supernovas, which wasn't proved until last year, I think it was. This man was sharp, brilliant man. So years later, a ufologist, or not, he wasn't a ufologist. I do believe it was somebody who was documenting Dr. Linus Pauling's life. Now, I have been told that Dr. Pauling was a believer. Hynek was a converted skeptic. So he had sent a letter to Sterling Colgate. They would have been colleagues. They were both astrophysicists, so they would have known each other very well. And he, like I said, he was pro alien life. So he asked Colgate about this. Now, this was found in the records, out in letters. It's handwritten in both persons' writing. And what Sterling said and the way Sterling said it, I think, is more important than what Sterling said. He goes, it was a student home. It was a student hoax. Students don't want to take blame. It's over. That's it. Having gone to TAC, if we'd have pulled off a prank like that,
Right.
that sucked in the federal government, and somebody like J. Allen Hynek, Dr. Hynek, we'd have wanted that all over the newspaper. There is no possible way. So now we're going to go back. Lonnie goes back. He pulls off and he gets out of the car and he sees what he thinks is an overturned car. And as he comes running up to it, he notices that this thing is sitting on tripods. The odd thing is the displacement of the tripods. It's an isosceles triangle. It's not a perfect triangle. It's isosceles. And there's two sets of footprints that are smaller than a fourth grader's shoe that go around the landing site. He sees the little guys. He also sees a mark on the side of the craft that was not known to anybody until Project Blue Book was declassified, except for Lonnie Zamora, the Air Force, and J. Allen Hynek. So you've got this out there. He immediately goes running back as it lifts off. Now, it uses rocket thrusters to lift. And everybody has a problem with that, and I really don't. There is a highly good probability that their ability to travel still maintain them having to break the initial pull of gravity against their craft to get a gravity well to surround it. I have no problems with that. Having seen the landing site myself, 12 years after the case, in the Soccorro Desert, for 12 years, sand, wind, rain, and snow, they were still there. The landing prints, just the same as they were the day that they were there. What was most impressive, besides them still being there, was the glass around them had been vitrified. And this is where we have a problem with the letter to Linus Pauling. Is vitrification takes 4 to 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit to cause silica sand to fuse to glass. And that's what it did. And what they're saying now is, oh no, it was quartz. Quartz is a whole different thing. And having been out there, it's glass. It's not quartz. The other interesting thing is the bush that everybody knows about that caught fire when this thing lifted didn't burn exactly like if you had torched it with a torch. It was cut clean in half. Just split.
Right.
This thing lifted up, it was egg-shaped, and it went over the top of the Mobile Mountains. And everybody thought, it's fine, you know. Then the press descended on Soccorro. That became a landmark incident.
Right.
After all the testing, they estimated that to put that type of dent in the type of prairie ground cover that it was had to be greater than 100 tons. That's hard to do as a student. Burning that bush would have been a real trick. And if somebody can come forward and tell me how that happened, because we all went to the same school, I'd be interested. Little footprints are gone, but there were castings made of. There were castings made of the landing prints. There is a tape recording of Lonnie Zamora when he calls her back up. Now, this is a really well respected, well liked individual in Socorro, New Mexico.
Right.
That he's not going to get scared real easy. Socorro's not maybe a small town, but it's still kind of the Wild West back there. He was well respected. He was not going to put his reputation on the line or anybody else's.
Right.
So when he called for backup, his friend came in and said the same thing. They both saw the same thing. Now they focus on just that portion of the landing. There were 5 other people within the Air Force documentation that showed, or that state, that they saw a blue flash come in from the southeast, which would be over the top of the Mobile Ridge. Always has been a lot of sightings back along that. That's the Mogollon that runs through Snowflake, Arizona, and anybody who knows Travis Walton. That's
Right.
the same mountain range.
Okay.
So,
Are you familiar with that, Shannon?
Oh.
Travis Walton?
Oh
No, I'm not. This is like I said. That's what I said. Educate me, because the UFO things it's something I'm just starting to venture into
Right.
and learn about. So
Well,
yeah.
okay. He's talking about that same mountain range, and that's where the Travis Walton incident. That's that movie Fire in the Sky. Are you familiar with that movie at all?
Oh,
No,
I had
I'm
that.
not yet.
Okay. Yeah. You need. Okay. You need to write that down and look and watch that movie Fire in the Sky. It's pretty good.
I've got my pencil ready. Fire in the sky. I take notes. I do take notes during our podcast. I always take notes.
Yeah, it's an excellent movie. It's of course dramatized.
Yeah. They took liberties with it. It didn't exactly happen the same way, but it's still a good movie.
It's a great. I know how Travis feels. Nobody wants to believe you. No, they'd rather have you not say anything or be considered an idiot. And Travis was amazingly brave to come out.
So, in layman's terms, in like a few sentences, what's the story about? Like, what happened? Because I'm so interested. I'm just so new to all this.
Which one, Travis or Soccorro?
Either one. Tell me both.
Okay. Let's go back to Soccorro.
Okay.
Soccorro, the sighting lasted a total of 30 minutes. This
Okay.
was between initial contact and the time the craft left. And both police officers said it was hovering in the sky with a blue glow and
Gotcha.
shot off at a high speed over the top of the Mogollon Ridge. Well, let's go back. We'll take the lunar landing. It would have produced a landing, and the weight would have been right, but the tripods are wrong. It was a quadrupod 4-pad landing pad that landed on the moon in 1969.
Okay.
That beast, when the lunar lander was relaunched to join the craft, it left the landing legs behind. It launched off that. So for that to have been the lunar lander in Soccorro, two things are wrong, and this is exactly what J. Allen Hynek said when the Air Force talked to him about it. That's what they wanted. He goes, it's an impossibility. One, the legs would still be here, and two, if you look at the structure of the lunar module, nothing about it is aerodynamic. If you are not in a gravity well to where you're absolutely sealed from your surrounding environment, that's not a craft that's going to fly in the atmosphere.
Right. I'm understanding now. So they were trying to say that it was the lunar landing instead of an actual UFO experience.
And
Gotcha.
And the thing is, that one, I've gone back, and let me just put this out here for you and your listeners both. There's two sites that I highly recommend to anyone. One is the Black Vault. And the Black Vault is just tons and tons of declassified material on tons and tons of classified subjects. The other one is archive.org. And I love archive.org simply because I'm too lazy to fill out FOIAs anymore. Somebody else has already done it. I can look at it and see if there's anything I can track down from it. But I have tracked down in 1964 in New Mexico. There were 8 cases right around April 24th of people seeing a white egg-shaped object. Some of them link it back to Archuleta Mesa, which goes into Schneider, which goes into reptilians underneath the earth in a deep underground military base, which it's real convoluted there. But is it a possibility? Well, if you look at quantum mechanics, everything's a possibility.
Right.
So this egg-shaped object, did they say about the size of it, like a football field or like the size of a car?
No, it was you're closer with the car. It was about 28 feet down one length of the long side of the isosceles, and it was about 9 feet on the shorter sides of the isosceles. So it was almost a 2-to-1 ratio, almost.
So, what do you think the purpose of this craft was? I don't see it as something they would travel from galaxy to galaxy in, or would they?
No, see, that's what I don't think. I think the smaller craft are built for short travel. I mean, and by short travel, anywhere from, say, the closest inhabitable star to here.
Right.
That the little craft could do. Bigger craft would be taken, I think, to be able to negotiate longer warps. They just came up with or released the working plans of a warp drive, which I find quite phenomenal considering it was patented in 1946. Same drive.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And who was that? Do you know the patent owner?
Yeah, Navy.
Navy.
I love that answer.
Yeah,
Maybe.
And
I got you.
And this is the funny thing about New Mexico Tech, and this is why I think the letter appeared. I cannot center myself with this camera. Tech, to see if this makes sense to anybody, at the back of Tech, and most of us worked there at one time or another, was a military base, Navy actually, called TERRA, Terminal Effects Research and Applications. Designed a lot of the weapons used in Vietnam. So you've got that there. You've got the landing here. You've got the Air Force going. It has to be explained away. Now Colgate, during the late 60s, early 70s, he wouldn't allow state police on campus. His view on the interpretation of dorm law was that those were each apartments that we were renting. So if you wanted to do a dorm raid, you had to have X number of causes and X number of warrants, search warrants to do it. And there would have been good reason, but we won't go into that. But anyway,
yeah.
The government, especially the state government, got pissed. This was at the time of the riots and all that crap in the 60s. I shouldn't say that, but
it was.
It's like Hunter Thompson said, you can stand and look west and see where the crest of the wave broke. But anyway, I'm going to do it again. Kid, my memory's sitting there from me.
You're talking about Hunter Thompson.
Okay, go back one.
I get that completely because I'm like all the time.
Do this all the time. But, I know where I was going with this. He kept Tech afloat with his own money. They denied him state fundage. And he said, fine, screw you, I'll keep it afloat. And he did until I went there in 1974. That's when it was lifted. So back then, I started pulling FBI reports from archive.org using just the term Colgate 1964 to 1974. Starting about 1967, they were highly interested in this man's finances. Now, I have no proof that they would leverage his finances against him, just as I have no proof that they ran over Dr. Jesse Marcel Jr. I have no proof on that, but I'm pretty well. Yeah, if you can get any type of leverage on someone, they're going to use it.
Right.
So the cryptic remark, the way he made it, the pride he took in his student body doesn't make any sense at all. I've made a lot of enemies recently on my alma mater's website because we got into a big argument over this. Big. At which time I said, how many fools been out there, boots on the ground, just curious? And didn't get a single one, but they were all willing to tell me it wasn't what it was. How can you decide what it is if you weren't there, or if you haven't gone out to see it, or do any other research?
Right.
You've got to.
Yeah, and I think you see that in whether it's paranormal or cryptids or UFOs, people trying to tell you what it is or isn't when they don't go out there and actually do the research themselves. Yeah.
Well, what I turned on them was their logic. Their thing is that Carl Sagan quote, massive subject requires massive evidence.
Right.
Well, what do you consider evidence? That's where it all falls down. So they're going by this one letter. And I go, okay, I'm turning the tables on you people. I'm sorry. Was the ink verified? Was the paper dated? who found it. Actually, a friend of Earl's apparently was the gentleman who found it, searching for Linus Pauling. They go, but they're in their handwriting. I said, okay, that still doesn't mean anything. The verbiage means more to me than anything else. And so I went through a list that they did for not only the MJ12 documents, but the S4 manual, which S4 is now identified on Google Earth if you want to go out and look at it. Everything they do, there's a reason. But
I have a question.
Sure.
And there's something like you get the cryptoids, the cryptids, the UFOs, paranormal, and all that stuff, and we all live definitely a different life when we have passion for this field, and at times it does reflect on our relationships with other people. With what you do and your beliefs and your research, has that reflected on you? And like you were telling me about your alma mater and stuff like that, like how is that reflected on you as a person when people are like, or you get positive feedback, or do you get, how does that affect you? Because I hear all kinds of things.
It's odd. The people who knew me, or who have been around me when stuff has happened, don't have a problem at all when I say this.
Right.
Other people from tech will go, you're selling out the science side of things. Well, no, not really. To me, science has locked itself down. Here is a set of boundaries we cannot go past, even though things have already gone past. So it's locked itself down, and it's sad.
Like, believe in science, but with boundaries. Yeah.
It's there's a thing called statics where you do equations with limits, and that is what this is. They've set the limits, and that's it. Einstein himself said you could not help but stare at wonderment at the universe. And to me, that sums it up. I've never seen a Bigfoot. I have gone hunting for them, where we had our pagan wedding was up near Happy Camp. I have looked for that beast so many times. And vampires. I've met 2 actual vampires.
Right. Yeah, we've had a discussion about that.
Yeah, odd things happen around. That's all I can say. Always has.
I can relate to that. I can relate to that, Wade. So much. No matter where I go or what I do, it's around me all the time.
Oh yeah. It's but at Soccorro, I was talking to a friend I hadn't talked to in 50 years, and we were talking about Soccorro, and one of my abductions took place there. Actually, right around the time, about a week after Travis's.
Okay.
Oddly enough, but I was talking to him about it, and he goes, I never really believed in it until one night I was walking between President's and West Hall. And he gave the date, and that would have been close to the time period of October of 1975. And he goes, I looked up, and all of a sudden there was this disc over me, and it just silently moved off towards M Mountain. And I said, really? He goes, I've never seen anything like that. I go, what'd you think it was? He goes, I don't know. It didn't make any sound. Okay. Yeah. He goes, but you're not crazy anymore. Thank you.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because the UFO I saw was a disc and it made no noise at all either. Yeah.
The closest one I saw that didn't interact with me personally, I was coming home from working in the ER out at West Mesa, Albuquerque. and was coming across Isleta Bridge, which crosses the Rio Grande. And as I look back north up the Rio Grande, it's a beautiful night. It's cold, full moon night, and there's this huge triangular craft just hovering over the Rio Grande River. One tip looked like it's locked to a tree. And I'm across the river, and it's gone. New Mexico's
I've got some footage I want to send you. After the show, I'm going to connect with you because I think you might be really intrigued by it. It's my friend Rob. Sorry, his name's a little different. I want to send that to you because it's very. Joe, I sent it to you, correct? About the it's insane. It's absolutely insane, and I think you might really find it interesting. And I'd like to hear your take on it. So I want to get that over to you.
Please.
It's so yeah.
Yeah. Wait, I did want to ask you about the Soccorro Landing. What was the purpose of that landing, do you think?
I think it was mainly to collect samples.
Okay.
Have you ever been out in the New Mexico desert?
The only place I've been was to White Sands.
Very similar. You're only like 100 miles away from Socorro, that White Sand.
Okay.
So it's very arid. It's very dry. The plant and wildlife there, the high desert is so different from any other place. The amount, the variety of wildlife, the variety of plant life, the geology of the planet is exposed all through there.
Okay. Okay. That makes sense then. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was just a reconnaissance team. I really do.
Okay.
And the only reason Lonnie Zamora went is because he thought the dynamite shack had blown up and there was injuries.
Okay.
That's why he went. Now, the odd thing, if this was all a hoax, or it was the lunar landing, Lonnie Zamora, he was my neighbor in Socorro for a while. After he died in 2009, they erected a memorial, I guess, retaining wall, I don't know what you'd call it, out by the site.
Really?
Honoring him. Yeah. So if it was all a joke, and they initially said the same thing about Socorro that they said about Roswell, they're doing this to get money.
Right.
Well, why do we go to Mars? You know, we do the same thing. We go to Mars and we try to collect evidence and research. It's the same thing, in my opinion.
Yeah.
We can be curious, but they can't be. It's the same thing.
Yeah, and the thing is, they're doing it. I've been taking multiple, and not a problem, except for two. One by the military, one by something I'm sure looks like grasshoppers, because I cannot be around the damn things at all.
Shannon, he is like terrified of grasshoppers.
One lands on me, I will strip naked to get away from that damn thing.
I'm the same way about frogs. I have a frog phobia that is ridiculous. I'll hyperventilate and I'll run through a door and knock it off the hinges.
Thank you.
So I get it. And it makes no sense. There's no rhyme or reason to it. I can't explain it. I know it's just a little freaking amphibian reptile. I know that. But no, all bets are off. I'm done. Yeah. I've thrown a really expensive purse into a pool because a frog jumped on it. I was done.
I beat a grasshopper to death inside my house using a #1 wood golf club. Just beat it until there was nothing left but a pulp, and my cat took it out. I couldn't even touch it up. I don't want the damn thing near me. I hate those things.
I love it. I get you. I get that.
But out of all of them, those are the only two I've ever had a bad experience with. So when we get to another planet, how are we going to treat them?
Right.
Is mine.
Yeah.
Most of these are just, if you're involved in any type of lab procedure or lab technology here, then you understand what's going on there. It's just different and a little bit more advanced than ours. And in some cases, a lot less painful, and in some cases, a lot more. But I don't think we'll be as kind should we find. It's like the race to Mars.
Right.
Elon Musk wants to claim it for him, his planet.
Right.
China wants to claim it. Here's the funny thing. I had to look up simply because it just didn't make any sense why his starships kept crashing. They go up, blow up, go up, blow up, go up, land, blow up. Doesn't make any sense. So I went out and I checked on degrees. I thought, surely to God, this man wouldn't try this without at least an engineering degree in something. Sure he would. He's got a bachelor's in physics and he's got a bachelor's in economics. Came out to Stanford to do some post-work and dropped out after one day. So, yeah, that's the guy who's going to be leading our mission to Mars.
And you know, when he talked about doing recon, that makes sense too, because you wouldn't send a recon team in the middle of downtown Houston. You know, you would send it somewhere. You know.
They're not going to be seen.
Right.
I'm going back through all the old cases. Going back to our first crashes were in 1942, according to the Air Force.
Yeah.
That's what I find interesting. Everybody focuses on Roswell.
Right.
But I got a whole bunch of them that went down from 1942 to 1947.
Right. Were there any of them
killing each other?
Yeah. Or was there any of these crashes really of any kind of significance, or?
I think several of them were. The three that went down at Roswell, one close to Corona, one close to Roswell, the second one close to Soccorro, actually. It's the plains of San Augustine. Where I get my first name is from a bartender in Corona, New Mexico. And his name was Jesse Wade. And my dad wanted me to have the initials. He just hated his first name. Just like I hate my first name. Thank you, Dad. And named me after Jesse Wade. Well, Jesse Wade's descendants, I think it's his granddaughter, may be his daughter, have pieces of the wreckage from the plains of San Augustine. So that's interesting to me because Jesse's bar was, I see this, how many were shoot downs. Later on, in the 70s and 80s, we tried. It didn't work well. It didn't work out the way we thought it would. We fired, I think Iran fired once, and they were blown out of the air. The next time, you couldn't get a lock. And you can see that in the Tic Tac or Fast Walker or gimbal video. You can't get a radar lock on the screen. And it just moves on. They got radar locks back in the day, and Iran shot one down in 72, 76, something like that. Mm-hmm. And as the thing went down, it blew that pilot right out of the sky.
Right. Do you think anything?
Go ahead.
Do you think anything that we have shot down was intended for us to shoot it down? You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, I think that was the whole thing behind Star Wars program. Space.
See what we were working with, yeah.
It was. I think there's a school of thought out there that if anything has crashed or been shot down, it's been allowed to get shot down or allowed to crash for us to get technology or something like that.
The only thing that I can reasonably accept is, well, one, there's documented cases of them actually landing and film at several different Air Force bases. That would be exchange of technology. That's when supposedly all the contracts were signed for the abductions. You could do this as long as you didn't harm someone or kill someone. That, according to Eisenhower's daughter or granddaughter, did occur.
Right.
That's from a family member. I would begin to take that and consider that as a good possibility of where some of it came from. But back in the 40s, the type of radar we used is not the type of radar we use now, and it would interfere with even our electronics. So there is a good chance, especially the one that went down around Roswell, Corona, Soccorro, that White Sands was using that type of radar at the time, and that it interrupted somebody's craft that went into another craft, because the debris field looks like an explosion from above, which comes down and then goes into a scoop, which was also petrified, and then that landed against an arroyo. The other one went out to Blackwater Canyon, and the third one came down in the plains of San Augustine. That was the hardest one to get information. But
I sorry.
no,
I have a
no,
curiosity. I have a curiosity question, because I am very interested in all this. And we were talking about earlier in the 40s. I'm like, yeah, they were curious why we were killing each other. I made that comment. I'm like, with what's going on in our world now with Earth, and it's just a messed up time. Is as activity increased with the UFOs, and because they're probably like, why the hell are you have to think about it, like, we have always thought of our world being only it.
Yeah.
And instead of us being, there's a universe where we take care of our own and look out for ourselves, we've been attacking each other. So I'm sure, because they're like, what the hell are y'all doing? So that's what I'm curious, if there's been an increase in activity because of what's going on right now. The energy's crazy right now.
It's horrible. It is horrible. I have not felt like this in long time.
Bless you.
It went up. The sightings went up in 2020, 87%. Now that's lockdown.
I got chills. I just got chills. Oof, yeah.
So if it went up 87% during lockdown, what did we miss? I'll tell you one that he's already written it up, so I'm sure I can go ahead and share it. If not, my apologies. My wife, here on the 8th of this month, we turned everything off. We have bunnies, little bunny rabbits, and she's in she's in the kitchen with the dining room with the little cage of the bunnies, and she's giving them pets and all of this, and I'm going, yeah. And I'm turning everything off. It's about 8:15 at night. She goes, I want you to come in here. It has to be a full moon. Is there a full moon? And she knows I'm pagan, so I usually keep track of the moon. And I said, yeah, we've got a hunter's moon coming up. I'm not sure exactly the date. Why? She goes, oh, this is the most beautiful moonlight on these leaves. And I said, okay. Well, she goes, oh, no, you need to come in here. And she literally begged me for a good 10 minutes. And so finally I thought, okay, just, I'll go in and go, what beautiful lights, and I'll wait. That'll work. Always does. No. I go in there and I'm looking at the most beautiful light I have ever seen in my life on these streets. Now we have patio lights, but they're turned off. This light is coming down from an angle that would be appropriate for the moon at a different time of year, but would still be appropriate for the moon. And then all of a sudden, it looked like something moved between us and the moon. just like Independence Day. I mean, it was that rapid and stopped. And I looked at Lisa, I said, I'm going outside. And I walked out and I looked straight up. And when I looked straight up, I saw Beetlejuice. And I knew right then and there that if there was a moon, it was below the horizon. Went back to my app for my moon, and it's a new moon on that night below the horizon. We watched those lights for 20 minutes, maybe. No sound, nothing. Just beautiful.
Just enjoyed it.
They twinkled, glittery. I can't explain this. Just gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous.
I can't help but feel that it was a blessing gift for you of just healing energy. Like, I can't help but feel that, like, that was meant for you. I mean, when someone's observing you, you notice, and maybe you're observing them, and they notice, and that's what I'm feeling. Sorry. But that was a moment y'all were supposed to have, so that's awesome.
Well, usually especially if they're not ours, I'll get a tinkling right at the base of my skull.
I get them on my shins.
I've had that since probably 16, maybe 17.
Yeah. It's confirmation. Yeah, absolutely.
So anytime I would feel that in any of the photos I posted, that's how I get them. Is I get that tingling and I go out and shoot it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when I come back in, it's set at 124,000th of a second on my phone, and it's set at a 50 ISO, so it's sucking up light really quick. And then I shoot it through 3 filters: normal, infrared, ultraviolet. And
I think you sent me some of those pictures.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
They're really strange.
Right.
I'm curious.
And Lisa she feels exceptionally, and this is who I think they were trying to say hi to as my wife. They're like old friends. We're not going to part ways anytime soon, I don't think. So I think it was, I truly do. Because about a week later, she goes, oh, look, there's a white dot up in the sky. And before I could turn to see it, the white dot's gone. I never saw it. She did.
Right.
Well, I think these are for her. Because every other relationship I've ever had has poo-pooed it, and then Lisa never poo-pooed it. But then they're faced with the undeniable truth of what's going on, and some of them could accept it, some of them couldn't.
Yeah.
You know, you mentioned earlier that I wanted to ask you when you were talking about it about Eisenhower.
Yes.
It was. I like that his name came up, and I'm not sure if Shannon is aware of that situation where he actually was. Where did he go to? And he was gone for a few days. Yeah.
He went to Edwards.
Edwards.
He was at Palm Springs. Well, he was at Palm Springs. Oh no, that was what they used as a cover. He was in Palm Springs. I don't know, for something. And then all of a sudden, bam, he's gone.
He's gone.
They don't know where he went. The newspapers are getting ready to run an obituary on him, thinking he has died. He's gone for 24 hours.
Yeah, he was gone for like 3 days.
Yeah. And comes back as if nothing happened. The cover story was he had dental problem.
Right.
One hell of a dental problem, apparently. What actually occurred was he went out to Edwards, perhaps sat down, lenticular shape, nice little sausage, sat down. 3 came out met with him. They went inside. 2 came back, and one of the U.S. military came back. They got back in the craft, and they left. So if you follow the timeline of things, this is 1954. That's right around the time the Space Force starts. But its name was called Solar Warden.
What was it called?
Solar Warden.
So, okay.
Solar Warden. Okay. I'm going to write that down.
There was a gentleman in Britain who hacked NASA. And he wasn't going after big government secrets. He just wanted those JPEG files that hadn't been filtered yet, clean. Mm-hmm. And he found a list of ships and a list of ship-to-ship transfers. But none of these ships are in our Navy, but they're underneath the Navy emblem and then the title Solar Warden. They show these ships, and they're huge cigar-shaped craft. They're being driven by a form of work. I'm thinking possibly a toroidal compression of space, but from 1954 forward, there is that little piece of ufology that nobody can prove or deny. It sounds wacky as crap, but stranger things. I mean, they just go ahead.
I'm so sorry. I'm so random. Okay. So I'm really curious because obviously you've heard of CE5s.
Yes.
And I just did my first one. I was welcomed into a night to do it, and I was very curious. And I was definitely the newbie, and I acted like it when I saw what I saw. But we did the meditation and the sound effects and everything, and the frequencies, and then all of a sudden, to about 3 foot off the ground, there was a swirling fog, and I'm like, what the hell? Like, I was so excited, and they looked at me like this is normal, and I'm like, this is not normal. I was so excited. I mean, do you know what I'm talking about? I've never seen swirling fog 3 feet off the ground and no higher. So do you do CE5s, or I mean, what's your opinion on those?
I believe in them highly. Stephen Greer's brilliant, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, he's the initiative of CE5. I really think it would pull humanity's consciousness to where it needs to be. We're in a war culture. That's the way we make our money, is killing people. We sell to both sides. That's the problem. And you're fighting that mentality. And that's, I mean, we were traded off essentially by Eisenhower for technology. He had no way of enforcing those guidelines that he set forth. When you've got a craft that can be doing 7,000 miles an hour, do a right-hand turn, go that way, and then do a 180 and go back the other way and never slow down, there's no way to enforce anything. And that goes back to my thing that they keep saying, there's going to be this attack. I don't think so. One, I think they're past that. There may be a few out there that aren't, but to achieve that type of technology usually requires a cohesive effort. If they wanted to, they've been here millions of years, as far as I know. At any point in our development, they could have wiped the slate. Now, the interesting theory that I have for you, Mr. Gill, is it's always been my theory on Bigfoot, because I am of the ancient alien, we had our genes manipulated belief, that this is, because they're sighted sometimes with flying saucers or UFOs, UAPs, that this is what was called, I cannot remember what the Anunnaki called that. It's not the Lulu. That was the mistake. But it was a wild hairy man, dates back to Samaria, some 6,000 years ago, was one of the intermediate creation steps for us.
Okay.
So if they wiped us out once, which is what I think happened, because they didn't like the outcome and we were becoming a little too arrogant.
What people call Noah's Ark.
And that's what I think these big feet are. And some of them are Noah's Ark. They are our ancestors. When the aliens say we need your DNA for us, I think that's what they're talking about. I don't think they're talking about themselves. I think they're talking about keeping a breeding stock of us, essentially, with not all the tweaks, but enough of the tweaks where they could go back and correct mistakes that they made the first time.
That's cool. That's very cool. Well, we're running up on the end of time here, and man, Wade, it's always good talking to you. You always got so much good information, man. I enjoy talking to you. I know we chat back and forth on Messenger all the time, and you always send me some good stuff. Do you have any advice for anyone who might want to get into the ufology?
Oh, tons. I'll be quick with it. The easiest way is to find yourself a MUFON chapter. Easiest
The what?
way. A MUFON, Mutual UFO Network.
Yes.
MUFON.
No, I got you.
Yeah. They will train you as a investigator. I'm self-trained. I do the same thing they do, but I've been doing it for what, a couple of thousand years, it seems like.
BC.
BC.
Hey, Shannon.
No, I mean, it is as far as his education, it is a research and experience, not AIDS, goofball. As far as your level of expertise is BC, that's what I meant. Jeez, Joe. Easy on me.
But it's I would tell people, and the other thing is, people don't look up enough. You got to be looking up to see something.
Right.
Yeah, so you're correct.
When you're driving
half the time you'll see something.
That's exactly true. I was sitting in the dentist chair, watched a little white orb come out from a cloud, sit there, slowly move back into the cloud. Mentioned it to the dentist. He goes, Kirtland Sandia, you don't know what they're doing out there.
They were babysitting us. Are they pushing that button yet? Are they going to push that button? We can't let them push the button.
We can't let them play with that. Not anymore. But yeah, that's what I would do. I would get involved. If there's a private chapter, a civilian chapter that's looking at UFOs and researching, go there. There is a ton of reference at a library. At the two sites I gave, blackvault.com and .org. Where's my phone? What's the name? Archive.org.
Archive.org.
You can get anything that the FOIA has already released. And the final little thing, because I know I messengered you on this, they released a CD because Trump had put in this thing in the $600 payment clause that they had to release all UFO documents. So they released a CD from the CIA, the DIA, and the DOD, which only takes up a very minuscule fraction of three-letter agencies out there investigating into that crap. But I looked at the DVD cover or the CD cover, and it's, again, verbiage. When something has been classified, if it's released, it's declassified.
Okay.
This says unclassified material. That means they never looked at it. It had no bearing on anything whatsoever. It probably contained, I downloaded it. I haven't unzipped it yet. It probably contains the biggest pile of stuff that would be hard to sort through if you're not used to it. So I would suggest people go out, find some of the older stuff going back to the 60s. Frank Edwards, great guy.
Stuff, yeah.
Yeah. Charles Fort, great guy.
Hey, wait, just real quick. You mentioned archive.org, and what was the other one?
Blackvault.com.
Black Vault. Okay, people are asking about the .com. Blackvault.com. Okay.
Archive.com and blackvault.com, right?
Archive.org.
Yeah,
.org, okay.
Blackvault.com. Okay, cool. Well, cool, guys. Thanks a lot, Mr.
Thank
Wade.
you.
We have to do it again, man. The time always flies by when we have you on.
I enjoy myself.
Yeah. I had Earl on a couple
appreciate
weeks
it.
ago. Yeah. I had Earl on a couple
I
of weeks ago. And
appreciate
I want to get you and Earl. Who's the other gentleman we have in our group chat? I get all you guys on to have it. Yeah, I like to get all you guys to have on. Do like a little
that
round
would be
table.
fun. That would be fun because if you get 3 ufologists in the same room, they're not going to agree about anything.
Yeah, and we probably could probably do like a 3-hour show on that one.
That would be real easily done.
We could just let me know because I'm very curious. And see, I was in metaphysical way before I got into paranormal, so I work with energy and spirits, and that's how I transformed into paranormal. But with me being so connected to energy, it's just like, and when you said something earlier about it tinged on me when you were talking about, the spirits, and then, with Bigfoot and all that stuff. And I'm like, and us being here and why we're here. And I'm like, oh, wait, there's another avenue I might need to go down.
Right.
So Cole, you opened my mind up. So I appreciated talking to you today. Absolutely. And I'm gonna friend request you. So
Friend request me, I will accept.
absolutely. You better.
Yeah, and thanks to all the guys and gals who participated in the comments, and y'all gave some good questions and had some good comments yourselves. So we appreciate that too.
Most definitely. I got to see them this time as they came up.
Good deal.
Cool.
Good deal. All right, then, guys. Y'all guys hold on real quick. I'm in the broadcast. Thanks a lot, everyone.
Bye, guys.